This class has taught me how to become a better writing teacher. There were 5 big things that gave me an aha moment or that really stood out to me throughout this class, and they are listed in this presentation. The first thing is the author's chair. I have not really been consistent with using an author's chair before in class, mainly because I didn't know the purpose behind an author's chair and what my students should be doing during that time. I used an author's chair in the past for students to share their finished product after they publish their stories, and usually that's them just reading their stories and then all the other kids just clap and say good job. However, this class taught me that I could use the author's chair basically every day during my writing block. And during that time, I could have a few students share something that they added or maybe a piece that they are working on so that kids can provide compliments or connections, to ask questions or even to give suggestions. And I think that's really important, especially for kids who may struggle with coming up with ideas or students who can't find what they need to fix on their own. Another student can point out those things for them. The other thing that's really stood out to me was designing mini lessons. I use a writing program. I follow the Lucy Calkins writing units, and I feel like they weren't getting all the points needed for me to teach my students to grow. So this chart in our book that I wrote in my day book shows how I can design my mini lessons around what my students know and use my resources as a supplement to help me teach it. I like how this shows how I can go from the process to the craft and skill and go back and forth between these so that my students I'm not expecting my students to all be on the same path or the same point during our units. Conferring is an important aspect to the writing process because it allows the teacher to learn what the student is doing as a writer, and it also helps the student to learn what they can do to improve their writing. I really like using this template in my classroom because it helps me to keep a documentation of each student's goals and what I have taught them, so that when I go back to them in maybe a couple days or a week, I can refer to this to see if the kids have mastered their goal and to see if they're making improvements. The other thing that stood out to me was this article, and it shows how to, whenever you're conferencing with students, things that if you see something, what you can teach that kid. I know sometimes during a conference session, I may struggle with, what I need to teach that student. And I think one part that's a struggle for me is when a student has trouble coming up with an idea. They just say, I have no idea what to write about. This provides some examples of things I could do to teach them how to find something instead of me giving them an idea to write about. And then the final thing that really stood out to me was this quote. And I really like this quote because I feel like writing is that one subject that kind of gets put on the back burner. And if you run out of time in your day, writing is that one subject that, we can move on to something else or scratch writing for the day and fill it in with other things. But I don't believe that is being a true teacher, because we need to be teaching writing every day for our students so our students can become better writers, and that will help them in the future become better writers in middle school, high school, and even in college, and to be successful.